Dear students, let us begin with another topic from the second unit of your semester second in zoology, that is the respiration. Now we have to study in the respiration the brief account of gills and lungs in vertebrates. Let us begin today with the brief account of gills in vertebrates. Uh, both these organs, they are meant for the lungs, and the gills, they are meant for respiration. So what is the respiration? Respiration means the oxidation of food, and oxidation of food molecule means when our body uses oxygen, break down the food molecules in the presence of oxygen. This is called oxidation, and it produces carbon dioxide and takes energy for which the food was taken inside the body. The system of the body designed to perform this function, that is particularly the exchange of gases between the body and the external medium, is called the respiratory system. And lungs and the gills, basically they are the two main respiratory organs of the respiratory systems. So their function is, they are basically the actual site where the exchange of gases, that is oxygen from the medium, that is either it may be air or it may be water, will be taken into the blood of the organism, and the carbon dioxide from the blood will be given back so that it can be uh, expelled out from the body. So these two, that is lungs and the gills, they are basically the respiratory organs of the respiratory system where actual exchange of gases takes place. Now, depending upon the type of medium, that means whether the respiration is taking place inside the water or it is taking inside the air, you are having two main respiratory organs. The gills, they are meant for the respiration in water medium, aquatic respiration, and the lungs, they are meant for the respiration in terrestrial environment. So they takes respiration, terrestrial respiration. No, sometimes the animals, some same animals may have both. They may have gills and they may have lungs also. Now, a common feature of the respiratory organ is that all these organs, they have a moist semi-permeable membrane. For the exchange of the gases, this condition is very important. So, the surface is moist, semi-permeable. That means semi-permeable means it will let something to across its wall and will prevent something to cross its wall depending upon the need of the body. It will not allow each and every molecule to pass through it. So, it is not permeable, it is semi-permeable. So, three conditions are there, that the membrane through which the gases are taking their exchange, that must be moist, that must be semi-permeable, and that must be highly vascularized. Highly vascularized means it must have the rich supply of the blood. So, you can see over there, say for example, this is a alveoli of a lung. The air from after breathing in has reached to this position. Now, the wall of this alveoli, it is richly vascularized. You can see whole wall of the alveoli is having a blood supply on its outer side, and this membrane I am talking of, it must be moist, it must not be dry, because what will happen, depending upon the concentration of the gases, say for example, here in the blood, the carbon dioxide is more, which is released from the cells of the body, and the inhaled air has the more oxygen. So, depending upon the concentration, that oxygen concentration is more in alveoli, carbon dioxide concentration is more in blood vessel. Diffusion of gases takes place along the gradient, that is from higher concentration to the lower concentration and from this to there, because here this is higher and this is lower. So, this diffusion for occurring of this diffusion, this membrane must be moist, this must be semi permeable, that means it must let these molecules to pass through it, and it must have a rich supply of the blood so that the diffusion may take place easily. Let us look at the gills now. Gills are also called as the bronchi. They are the aquatic respiratory organs of the fishes and the amphibians. Now, gills may be of two types. They may be present within the body called the internal gills, or they may be present outside the body called the external gills. And some animals have both external as well as the internal gills. Among them, the internal gills, these gills are called the true gills, this one. Let us look at the internal gill first. Internal gills are characteristics of fishes and are located in the gill slits or pharyngeal cleft. Now, this is the mouth. From the mouth, you are having the buccal cavity, and the buccal cavity, then you are having the pharynx. The wall of the pharynx is perforated, having so many slits present on it, which are called the gill slits, all the pharyngeal slits, because these slits are present on the wall of the pharynx. So, when the gills are present on the wall of the pharynx, they are present in slits, they are present in openings of the wall of the pharynx called the gill slits or the pharyngeal clefts. So, they are the lateral opening of the pharyngeal wall. How many slits will be present? This number varies from one animal to another. For example, about 140 gill slits may be present in Amphioxus. There may be 6 to 14 pairs in Cyclostomes, the round mouth fishes. There may be 5 pairs in Elasmobranch, as this is the Elasmobranch I have shown you. So, you are having 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 pairs, because the other 5 are present on the other opposite lateral side, and they may be 5 or 4 sometime in bony fishes also. Now, if you look at in the bony fishes, the gills, they are covered over by a flap called the operculum. So, in previous we have seen that each gill slit was opening outside, it was visible from outside, you can count them, but here you can see the operculum is present on the gills, thereby letting only one slit. So, if you raise the operculum, you see many gills are present inside it. So, having only one common slit through which it is opening outside, and this cavity below the operculum where the gills are located is called common opercular cavity. Now, one gill and the other gill, then the other gill, the gills are separated from one another by a partition called branchial septum. So, you can see, you might remember that we have studied the branchial arches. So, the branchial arches are basically the branchial septum. You can see this is the branchial arc, this is another branchial arc, this is another branchial arc. You must remember, first branchial arc was forming the jaw, second was forming the hyoid arc, was forming the first gill arc, so on and so forth. Now, the branchial septum, if you look at, like this is the branchial septum, behind this gill filament, anterior one is gill filament attached to the posterior cartilaginous or bony structure called the gill arc. This gill arc is basically the branchial septum. So if you look this gill arc is having the rich supply of the blood. So it is having the blood capillaries also. It is also having some muscles, bronchial muscles attached to it. So the gill slits are separated from one another by partition called bronchial septum, to which the gills are attached. So these are the gills which are attached to it, to the gill arc. So this was the gill arc, or this previous one is the gill arc. Now if you look at each, once you are having the blood supply in the gill arc, the blood supply with the help of the two colors, two vessels are shown. That means one will be artery, other will be vein. One will be giving blood supply to the gills, other will be taking back the blood supply from the gills. So once it is giving blood supply to the gills, it is giving blood to the gills having rich carbon dioxide, which will be diffused out into the water. From the water, oxygen will be taken, diffused inside, and then the blood will be taken from the gills to through other blood vessels, which will be supplied to the body part. You can see this is over there, that the oxygen poor blood through this vein, it means this is the artery, and this is the vein which is taking the rich blood supply back. At the embryonic stage, gills are present in all chordates. So even we, in our case also, in mammals also, because you must remember that three fundamental characteristic features of the chordates were having the dorsal hollow nerve cord, then the notochord, nerve cord, and the gill slits. So gill slits in mammals, in the birds, in the reptiles, they too are present during the embryonic stage, but they are abolished in the adults. Whereas in case of the fishes and most of the amphibians, they persist in the adults also. So you are able to look at the adult body of the fish and amphibian, and you may be able to see the gills, but not in case of the mammals, birds and reptiles, because the gills have been abolished during their development from their embryonic stage to the adult stage. So if you look at a gill is composed of two rows of numerous gill filaments. You can see this is the one filament, this is the other filament. You are having two rows attached to a gill arc. So a gill arc is having the two rows of numerous gill filaments, which are also called as gill lamellae. Now these are present on either side of interbrachial septum, because this is the interbrachial septum, which is called gill arc also. So one row is present on one side, other row is present on other side. A single row of lamellae on one side of bronchial septum forms one half of the gill. So this is the one half of the gill, this is the other half of the gill. The one half is called as demibranch or hemibranch, and when both the lamellae, both the rows of the lamellae are taken together, then it is called the holobranch or complete gill. Gill filaments are richly supplied with blood. I have already explained you. If you take one filament and you see, it is having a rich supply of blood coming into it and going away from it, because it will help for the exchange of gases, as we have studied in the introductory slide, that the respiratory surface must be richly vascularized. They must have the rich supply of the blood. This interbrachial septum, you can see it is very much reduced in case of the bony fishes and very highly developed in case of the cartilaginous fishes, and in some fishes like chimeras it is reduced, neither too reduced nor so elongated as in Lesbobranch, it is in between. So you have the three types of the position of the septum. Either it may have a long septum, either may have a reduced septum, or it may have very much reduced septum, not separating the gill filaments up to a greater extent. Now, in addition to it, in cartilaginous fishes and ganoids, the first gill slits between mandibular and hyoid arc. You must remember that the mandibular arc is the arc which form the jaw of the vertebrates. So, and the second hyoid arc is the arc which is between the jaw and the gill arches. Now, each gill arch normally give rise to the gills on its surface, but in case of the cartilaginous fishes and the ganoids, the first gill arc uh, does not have any sort of well developed gill on it. So, it bears a reduced pseudobranch and opens to outside through a small opening called the spiracle. You can see this is the small spiracle present over there, or this is the spiracle. So, it does not have the complete fully formed gill, it has a reduced pseudobranch, false branch, the false gill you can say. In chimeras, lungfishes and teleost, spiracle becomes either closed or lost in adult, but in bony fishes you will not be able to see this spiracle from outside, either it is lost or it is closed. Now, number of gills and you can say the gill slits also, they varies from fishes to fishes, like you can see they are 7 in their Heptanchus, they are 6 in the Hexanchus, they are 5 in most elasmobranch. In addition to a spiracle, you can count them. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this one is the 5, which is having only one half called the hemibranch, and then the spiracle. However, the demibranch, that means hemibranch, found on hyoid arc in elasmobranch is lost in modern ganoids and teleost, that means bony fishes which have only 4 hollow branch. So, in bony fishes you are having only 4 hollow branch, 1, 2, 3, 4. This hemibranch or the half branch present on the hyoid arc is lost in the bony fishes. Additional demibranch are lost in some lung fishes also. Lung fishes, another demibranch may also get lost. So, it means when we are moving from lower grade to higher grades in the vertebrates, we are having less number of the gill slits, and you must remember that when we have studied the gill arches also, the gill arches are the visceral arches, they were also reducing in their number, in their functions from lower vertebrate to higher vertebrates. So, because the gills are present on the gill arches, so they also correspond to their development with respect to the gill arches. The extreme case of reduction is found in the Amphiornis, in which first and the fourth branchial arch are without gills, they do not have gills, while the second arch bears the only a demibranch, that means half branch, not the full one. Now, then you look at the external gills. External gills are basically the branching outgrowth from the outer surface of the gill arch. So, sometimes what happens, the gill arch give rise to a outgrowths which are called the external gills, because they come out from the body. They do not restrict themselves within the body as we have seen in the internal gills, and since these gills are normally present in the larval form, so they are called the larval gills. In amphibians, the larval external gills are absorbed at the time of metamorphosis, but in some case in the urodeles you can see here, over here, they may persist in the adult also. So, this is one of the exception where they are not losing themselves in adult in amphibian. In Amphioma, gills are absorbed, but gill slits remain. So, this is the larval form in the adult. The gills you may not be able to see, but the gill slit will be seen. Now, gills have various shapes. It may have the pectinate shape. Pectinate means not very large enough, they are low and closely set filaments. Filaments may be set closely. They may be bipinnate, that means filaments are arranged in 2 rows like this. They may be dendroid. Dendroid, if you remember the structure of the neuron, at the end you may see that the axon is having highly branched end. So, if the tip of anything is highly branched, it is dendritic fashion, and sometimes they may be leaf like. The shape of the gills varies from one animal to other. Each gill consists of narrow main central axis bearing a double row of filament. You can see like this is the narrow main central axis having the double row of filament. Again, like see, you can see over there also, their filaments are so too small, so they are not visible over there. Likewise, thoroughly vascularized by aortic arches, because again it must be highly vascularized if respiration is to be carried out from this portion. So, this central and then the gill filament, they are having a rich supply of the blood, so that the gases may exchange from between the medium and the blood present inside them. Moreover, in the internal respiration with the help of the internal gills, I will just take you back for a moment. What happens basically, the water is taken from the mouth to the inside, and then it is expelled out from these gill slits. When the water is coming and going, it is bathing the every gill filament and the every gill on the present over there. As a result, exchange of gases takes place. So, here the water is taken inside the mouth, then in the cavity of the pharynx, then given out from these gill slits. Whereas, in case of the external gills, the respiration is not taking place from the water entering into the mouth. Rather, these gill filaments are present outside in the water, and it is very important because the gills are not present in the terrestrial animals. So, you must remember that it is the feature of the aquatic only. Now, here they are present at the external side already in the water. So, there is no need to take water from the mouth, and then they must water is to be given out from the gill slit. Simply these filaments, they are present outside in the water, they are simply waved in water, and thus respiration takes place with the diffusion of the gases. Thanks. This is all about the today's topic, that is the gills, internal as well as external.